Hey, sports fans, Coach Nick here, and welcome to BBallBreakdown and the starting five with Ben Heisler. Ben, we've had an incredible day today of the trade deadline. The most players ever traded at the trade deadline ever, 37. Insanity ensue. Please, let's jump into this. Let's get some analyzation. Let's figure out what's happening out here.
Let's do it, Coach. The fact that we were in Kansas City for my sports talk show out here, and we led the day with the fact that the NBA had one of the best trade deadlines of all time, that just goes to show you the type of momentum and the type of atmosphere that the NBA trade deadline provided. So let's start with topic number one here on the starting five, and that's the fact that Goran Dragic, we weren't sure whether he was going to go, especially after his apology, and we sort of thought it was going to be happening, but now he ends up getting dealt to Miami along with his brother. The Dragic brothers are end up as Miami Heats. Phoenix acquires Danny Granger. They get 2 first-round picks from Miami along with John Salmons. And New Orleans is in this trade as well. They get Norris Cole, Justin Hamilton, Sean Williams as well. Obviously, let's focus on the impact of Goran Dragic going to Miami. Do you think this is a fit?
Oh, it's a huge, huge upgrade. I've been really high on Dragic, and you could tell this year he has simply not adjusted very well to the three-guard alignment they've been having. That said, his numbers are pretty good, but they're not as good as they were last year when we broke it down and showed how transcendent his game can be when he can dominate with the ball. And there's no question that Miami needed better point guard play from that position. And, man, they're going to get it. They like to play with pace as it is. And if Wade can come back, that's going to be a serious team to have to deal with in the Eastern Conference.
Right. A lot of people sort of have this idea of Dragic that he doesn't like to pass the ball. I don't think that's the case at all. I think he just wants to play. And the fact that you had him going up with Bledsoe and Isaiah Thomas, and we both like Isaiah Thomas a lot. We'll get to him a little bit later on in the show. The fact that Dragic gets to be the guy and the main distributor to Miami in a very fluid offense, I think with Eric Spoelstra is going to do wonders for him. This is a guy that when he needs to score, he can. I think he was the second leading field goal percentage leader in the National Basketball Association this year. To get to Miami, I think it's going to be a real nice fit for him, especially if he can distribute out to Bosh and Wade at the wings.
Absolutely. And big Tony Parker, he's not a really high assist guy who's going to get 10 assists a game, but he is going to make the right play, but he's going to put so much pressure on the defense, it will make it easier for guys like Bosh, who don't need it much easier because they can score as well anyway, and Wade as well. So that's a real big key for them. And if they can get anything out of Dwayne Wade and then Whiteside continues to do what he's doing, that's going to be an awful matchup for whoever gets them in the first round.
Well, a lot of people are projecting that it could be a Cleveland-Miami matchup, maybe a 2 versus 7. I still think Cleveland would ultimately win out, but I think Miami, for the first time since LeBron left, might start to feel comfortable about the building pieces that they're starting to put together.
I think so, too. This is a good day for Pat Riley. And then, Phoenix is a little bit more strange with what they ended up doing because, instead they now have Danny Granger, who's, on the last legs, and John Salmons, who I actually liked in Chicago as sort of a real solid defender and a guy that could kind of knock down a shot and be dependable on offense. And I don't know what's happened to him. His career has kind of drifted. But Phoenix is interesting because you can almost argue that if they could just now focus on who they have with those two guards, they might be a better team, even though they've lost a little bit of talent.
One quick thought on Phoenix, the fact that they get the 2 first-round picks from Miami, obviously the Granger deal, more of an expiring deal, got a veteran presence in that team. They're not going to win this year. Do you still like the outlook for this team moving forward?
I'm not sure. My problem I have with them is I love their offense. It's kind of fun the way they spread the floor and let their guys go one-on-one. But that's not a recipe for success when you get to the fourth quarter against good defensive teams. And we've seen them lose these leads and then heartbreakingly lose other games this way, where I know defense obviously becomes a real issue for them. And that's usually what wins these games. But the shots they end up getting down the stretch tend to be of a very difficult variety. And that's going to be a tough one. So I don't know. I don't feel very good about them actually closing out the season and making the playoffs.
Well, 2 teams that made a trade today, Coach, as we continue on here on the starting five. 2 teams that actually made some substantial deals and lost a little bit of talent, but I think got better, is the Detroit Pistons and the Oklahoma City Thunder. The big name, obviously, in this deal is the fact that Reggie Jackson is now going from the Thunder to Detroit. Oklahoma City gets Enes Kanter from the Jazz. It gets Steve Novak as well from the Jazz. DJ Augustine is going to be able to play with his old college teammate and Kevin Durant again. Kyle Singler is also going there as well. Utah gets Kendrick Perkins, Grant Jarrett, Tabor Pless, some draft picks as well. Basically, everybody in this deal, coach, to me gets better. But I think the Pistons being able to get somebody like Reggie Jackson and build around him for the long term, I think is substantial.
Well, let's not get crazy with Utah because they're going to probably buy out Kendrick Perkins and he'll just be a free agent who can go wherever he wants.
Let's expired deal. They're able to move on from it.
Fair enough, yeah, and they're getting some pieces and they're moving some stuff around, but there's no question that, like, here's the thing: in an alternate universe, a guy like Steve Novak could be a really valuable rotation player for the Thunder because he could just spot up and get all those passes. We're watching tonight. All of a sudden, I don't know if it's the All-Star game, but Russell Westbrook wasn't very inspired to pass in the All-Star game, but he's making these passes to the corners and really, getting up in the air to shoot and then dishing at the last second. That looks really, really good. And when you start to throw in other guys who can just catch and shoot like Singler, they might be they actually probably improved more than you could ever imagine a team that was already pretty good to begin with.
Yeah, I think so too. I think the fact that they're able to get another rim protector and Enes Kanter is a big deal. Remember, we thought, and we talked about this on an episode a couple of weeks ago, that maybe they were a really good fit to try and make a Reggie Jackson, Brook Lopez deal. And the fact that Brooklyn basically stood pat today, didn't end up trading Lopez when we all thought that he would be dealt, especially a couple of weeks ago, makes you wonder about the future of that organization as well.
I agree. I think that it was a very smart move. The guy keeps getting injured. It's just not a worthy. When you heard some of the things that were bandied about what they were trying to get for him, I don't think it ever would have been worth it. Even if it worked out, the risk is so high there. And I think that Kanter. Let's not make any bold predictions of him on defense, but because he's not a very good defender, or that's not really been his focus. That said, you plug him into the OKC Thunder's defensive scheme as it is, he's not going to drag him down that much when he's in there. So really? I don't think that's going to be a liability for them. And he's a tough kid. He's got a nice little jumper, mid-range. He can post up strong. And there are moments when we've seen in the past, at least, where he has dominated down low in the low block. And that's something they could always use. Another guy that could help him get some buckets easy.
Really quickly, give me your thoughts on the lasting impact of Reggie Jackson in Detroit, particularly when they're hoping to have a healthy Brendan Jennings coming off of surgery next year.
I'm glad you asked that about Reggie because, I know him to some degree, and I've observed him working out in the summers, and he's a great guy. This year, it looked like he was playing for a contract. It really did. That sort of, typical, jacking up shots, trying to get mine. Now, the offense kind of allows that to happen, which was part of the issue. And so it was really too bad. It didn't look good at all for a lot of the year. And I think he kind of wore out his welcome because of that. But he was a young player who clearly realized that if I don't get my numbers, then I'm not going to get that contract. And it's a lot of pressure on someone. So I think if he can get to a situation where he's comfortable, he knows he's going to be there, he knows he's going to get paid, he can get back to being a very solid starting point guard that he displayed when Russell Westbrook was out for all that time.
Yeah, I think he's somebody that can really get and feel comfortable in Detroit once he gets those minutes, once he's able to get himself going. So a nice trade for really all three teams involved in that deal.